All right, I have a confession to make as we get rolling here. Key to Coaching Wednesdays at 10 a.m. is a REALTOR productivity conversation centered around Works Partner and the Hero Benefits Network. Just for fun, I'll tell you what happened. We had a snowstorm this week, most snow we've ever had in Franklin, North Carolina, and Starlink's down. So I am winging it on this PowerPoint because the PowerPoint that I prepared did not move to the right spot. So I'm going to check one more time to see if it came in because I am on cellular, but it's not hooking up. Let's see here. Yeah, my computer in the let's do this then. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and stick with the original idea. The PowerPoint's just not here. So let's go ahead to this one and we'll discuss the matters of importance that I hoped to convey to you. And very disappointing. I started 6 a.m. this morning preparing this for you, and not life of me get the PowerPoint to move using cellular data only. So anyway, spend some time right here and we'll kind of run through. Now, you guys are free to unmute your microphone and ask questions. We might be able to have some dialogue that's meaningful. Just go into my recents just to try it one more time. I'm going to leave this up for now. We'll just talk. And I apologize, but my Starlink was a foot under snow, embedded in snow, so it lost its ability to project. You know what I'm going to do? Can this? I'm going to leave this up, but I'm just going to talk to you for 10 minutes. And if you think there's something important, I'm going to give you my cell phone number and my email address, and we can discuss it. And I'm going to just leave this screen up while we talk. And then what I'll do is I'll redo the event that I had prepared for this morning with you at another time. But without reviewing this PowerPoint, I'm really quite disappointed that I couldn't give you the information that I was hoping to convey today. And again, I apologize. Checked Franklin, North Carolina, the last 5 days. We had snow every day and lost everything as far as Starlink goes. So anyway, my name is Russ Fitzpatrick, and I am one of the Key to Coaches for HBN and Works Partner. And HBN is the nonprofit charitable organization that pays for Key to Coaching and the support for the Hero Benefits Network. What I wanted to talk to you about today is chaotic life versus an organized life. Funny to say that. Well, I can't get my organization to work this morning, but I grew up in a chaotic household. My father was a police officer, and my mother didn't work, so income was tight, and we didn't have any routines. Like, we didn't have a breakfast and getting ready for school routine. We didn't have a getting home from school and doing your homework routine. We didn't have a family dinner or bath, books, and bed routine. As I grew older, and I met other families, you know, families from the neighborhood or families from other neighborhoods. I saw cleanliness and order in their homes. I saw organization in their homes, and I saw structure. Well, I've recently been reading Jordan B. Peterson's book, 12 Simple Rules, An Antidote for a Chaotic Life. And he spoke about something that I was relatively unconscious until I was raising children of my own. My wife and I, my wife primarily, had learned that organizational structure and a routine was very, very useful for the raising of young people. And in fact, Jordan B. Peterson says that um, when you observe the behavior of a small child who doesn't have sleep, eat, and structural routine and time that's predictable in his life or her life, they are anxious, whiny, misbehave, and typically nasty. And children that have sleeping and eating structure and have an organizational structure, a clean, organized home that has rituals, routines, when they operate on a schedule, they become pleasant and playful and respectful and polite, and they don't have anxiety in their body all the time. Well, having been raised in the 70s without structure and having observed small children being raised with structure, it's obvious that Jordan B. Peterson is up to something. And in fact, there's a gentleman named Steve Morris that runs Exit Realty Corp International, who is a terrific role model and mentor of mine for many, many years. And he used to say something that was extraordinary for a guy like me. When I was a young man, he would say, successful business people are also ritualistic by nature. That successful realtors, in fact, are ritualistic by nature. So, in the absence of a PowerPoint platform that I could show you the research and the rituals that we have been working with for 37 years, I'll just ask you straight up: do you have any rituals that you protect from intrusion? Do you have any um, marriage rituals, rituals in your marriage that keep your marriage safe? That you have a commitment to you and your spouse to protect certain windows of time to uh, manage your marriage. So I'll give you some examples of what I mean by rituals in your marriage. Silly one that everyone talks about is date night, right? Carrie and I spend Wednesday nights at this coffee shop where we have trivia competition with other uh, neighbors and friends that come there. It's a sober environment, it's healthy, and we all interact and drink coffee and enjoy each other's company. And there's a little competition. Our team is named the Damn Floridians because we're Floridians that relocated to the Smoky Mountain National Park region. So date night is a silly example, but if you ask marriage counselors across the world, they'll tell you that protecting an evening without the children that's just for you and your spouse is an integral part of a long-term marriage. Monetary policy in our marriage is reserved to a weekly ritual where we review the bills and the expenses and the debt and the savings. And we invest that hour because I read a sentence a long time ago that said, man who manage men who manage things, but men who manage money manage all. I'm going to say it one more time because it's really fun. Men who manage men who manage things, but men who manage money manage all. And I fell in love with that because that was in the original book called Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. And I fell in love with that quote. So in my marriage, we spend 1 hour roughly And we don't even need an hour sometimes because we do it every week. So sometimes it's just 10 minutes, sometimes it's 30 minutes, sometimes there's something important to talk about. But when you protect that ritual of monetary policy and budget with your wife, guess what? You don't fight about money all week because you had that ritualistic engagement about money. And if you don't know, money is the main thing that couples fight about. So having that weekly ritual, I'll give you another weekly ritual that we do in our marriage, and that is household organization and family day. On Saturdays, we do about 40 Saturdays a year. We go to a farmer's market. We get our fresh vegetables for the week, and we're able to execute just a beautiful morning that is reserved for family to focus on the organizational structure for our coming week. Now, that's not the only rituals we have, but as a married couple, it's just a couple examples. Um, in the career, when I talked about career rituals, for a decade and a half, I would say, 15 years, uh, I did expired listings in the morning for 15 years. And I began my research and contact information acquisition at about 7 a.m. And I was on the phone with 5 to 7 expired listings live every single day, uh, 4 days a week, excuse me, for at least 5 live conversations. I would try to do more, but at least 5. I would hold myself accountable to 5 live human conversations. And I would get not less than one listing appointment per week from that ritual. Um, that doesn't appeal to a lot of people, but that was my ritual. I also had a ritual called EBOL, EBOL, every buy owner lists. And EBOL was a was a was a for sale by owner follow up system that didn't require any work of mine. It was a drip campaign before drip campaigns. It was a CRM before CRMs. So what we did is we had several pieces of mail, several handwritten notes, several drop offs, and several texts and now DMs that went into the for sale by owners operating system. We went into the for sale by owner, sliding into his DM, sending him a text, doing all these things. But think about this, we didn't have to do it. It was 10 hits that happened over 2 weeks that we just set up. And that was called EBOL. So my goal every week, my ritual, was to add 10 for sale by owners to my EBOL campaign. And then they would get this drip campaign that happened automatically. And I didn't have to face the rejection of the for sale by owner. So that was a ritual that I adhered to. Um, Another ritual that would be useful for a career is social media and sphere of influence. So imagine, if you will, that I'm going back just because I'm so pissed about this damn PowerPoint and my inability to do it, but I'm going to keep on talking as we see if it's here. Um, Sorry. I don't think this is going to make the Spotify roster, but not my best work, and definitely apologize to everyone. But it's uh, frustrating to say the least. I want to ask you just a couple more career rituals. So, from for probably 10 years, from 1990 to 2000, I did it myself. I sent handwritten notes to the leaders of these organizations, the Catawba County Schools, or the Fire Marshal's Office, or the Veterans of Foreign War, or the Law Enforcement Agency. And when you send handwritten notes that have a stamp and a blue ink on them, you find that the police chief, the principal, or the president of the VFW or the president of the American Legion, they call you and they respond to you for having reached out to them via a handwritten note. So, one of the things that I did for a decade is I would sit my uh, lazy, disorganized ass down. People don't realize every single structural component of my career was built because I was lazy. And I built them so that I have to hold myself accountable. So, like Tuesday mornings from 9 to noon, I had to do 20 handwritten notes. And I held myself accountable to 20 handwritten notes a week. And there's nothing fun or sexy about that. But you know what I was motivated by? Like a bricklayer is not motivated by laying one brick. That's not exciting. A bricklayer is motivated by building an entire house. So there's a psychological advantage to having a picture in your mind of why you're sending these 20 handwritten notes a week, because it's going to build a sustainable network of human resources leaders throughout the community that trust and respect you as their residential real estate professional, or at least as their hero benefits director. And this act of holding yourself accountable for an activity that is happening every week is called ritualistic by nature. That means that you, like uh, almost every top producer I know in residential real estate, is ritualistic by nature, being ritualistic by nature. That means you have, I'm going to just tell you about Gary Keller's book, The One Thing. You just look it up, just Google it. The one thing is time blocking. Like elite people in professions, elite football players, elite, musicians, elite chefs, they protect their time for that thing that matters most. Like my marriage, you have to have areas that you protect from intrusion, like date night or family organizational night or monetary policy and budgeting, or even affirmations. You know, for 25 years, I had a ritual from 4:39 a.m. to about 6 a.m., about an hour and 15 hour, 20 minutes, where I uh, wrote my affirmations, reviewed my goals, and prayed. And I will tell you, after, 56 years on the planet, the ritual of affirmations, meditation, planning, aspirational focus, like what are you focusing on? And then the prayer, not only for what it is you're aspiring for, but for gratitude and for a look at what God's will could be in your life. That time, people freak out because 4:39 is early. But I think when you wake up at 4:39 and it's quiet and you're having your coffee or your tea, you have this ritual experience that becomes sacred to you. And like children that misbehave, um, realtors that underperform have no rituals. It's heartbreaking because you see that young kid, that little child with a snotty nose, with boogers, dried snot under their nose, and bags under their eyes from a lack of sleep or nutrition, and a fidgety nature, anxiety ridden children that are loud and whiny and misbehave. And you trace it back to the fact that they have no rituals, they have no substantive structure in their life, and they have no routine. Well, the exact same phenomenon is true of underperforming realtors. If I find a realtor that's selling less than $2 million a year, 60,000 in commissions, I can pretty much tell them before they tell me that they have no rituals. You can tell they don't have any rituals. They don't have a geographic farm area. They don't have a sphere of influence database. They don't prospect sellers at all. They don't even have a formal follow up for their buyers. And they certainly don't ordain any particular hour for any particular activity and then protect that activity from all else, because that's what top producers do. And if they did that, they'd be a top producer, for God's sakes. And I will tell you this, after 40 years in residential real estate, having the confidence to assert what you protect your time from is world changing. It's game changing. And if you're already one of those people that do have that, I apologize for ranting about this, but I'm going to tell you this one more time. It's palpable, right? The 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 individuals that protect time against the intrusion of all else, including their stupid cell phone and their stupid email and their stupid texts and their stupid social media, and they block that out and they say no. Think about it. I've used this example before. I hope it resonates with you. If I were a butcher at, the grocery store, the Publix owners time block for me. They go, dude, you're going to be in there butchering all day. That's what you got to do. You're time blocked. Well, I punch a clock and I have to do the activity they're paying me to do the whole time I'm there. So, of course, if you're a butcher, you're time blocking. But here's the thing, if you're a realtor, you whimsically move around your day and your career becomes chaos because you have no rituals and you have no firm time blocking accountability. So without the visual support that I wanted to give you and the hope that you'll still respect the information that we're going through, I spent a lot of time on Jordan B. Peterson's book, The 12 Simple Rules, An Antidote for Chaos. And what I learned is that Steve Morris was right when he taught me that successful people are ritualistic by nature, that successful realtors are ritualistic by nature. So, in the absence of any visual support, just think in your own mind's eye, what would a ritual be like that you could do once a week for less than an hour? That if you did it every week, it would start to feel like that. I think it's called a Cadian rhythm. It's just that rhythm, right? The 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 annihilation of chaos and the inspiration of order. The chaos begins to go away, and the pulse of organizational structure and, in fact, a sense of purpose and a sense of that mansion rather than the brick. Meaning, because I have this Cadian rhythm now with my 1 hour a week, you know, and I'm just going to give you a couple examples of what you could do for 1 hour a week in discussion, and then I'm going to give my cell phone number, and then I'm going to apologize profusely for the PowerPoint not leaving my Microsoft computer and making it into my broadcast computer, which is a ritual that I do every day between 6 and 10 a.m. preparing for these events. Um, Listing acquisition rituals. Do you believe that there are rituals that you could participate in that produce listings? And if listings are the most important part of your career, which they are, um, do you protect any listing acquisition rituals from intrusion? Do you do what Gary Keller says is the number one thing for top realtors to do, which is time blocking? If you did, maybe we could talk about, 20 handwritten notes a week. And eventually I paid my teenager to do it because I had to give her allowance anyway. So I just gave my teenage girl $20 to do 20 notes, dollar a note. And that's what sustained that ritual, whether I sat upon the wall or traveled to far land. That's one of my favorite quotes. Does the money flow into your career, whether you travel to far lands or sit upon the wall? That's a quote from George Clayson's Richest Man in Babylon, because wealth is not found in a fat purse, right? 5 million, 10 million, $15 million, 20 million in production, 30 million in production is not found. It's that money is not found in a fat purse. That money is found in a golden river that flows into your purse, whether you sit upon the wall or travel to far lands. That's what rituals are about. By having rituals in your week for residential real estate listing acquisition, you can ensure that the listings are going to flow into your inventory, whether you sit upon the wall or travel to far lands. So let's go through a couple of rituals that are listing activities, and then we're going to bump to next week's key to coaching in hopes that I can. Oh, I also want to shout out to Laura and Jimmy in Houston, Texas, who are getting ready to host their first essential employee relocation webinar for Hero Benefits Network in Houston. We've expanded into Houston with Cross Country Mortgage and a big real estate brokerage operation. And Laura's heading it up. And what we're doing is we're using rituals of handwritten notes, sliding into a DM of an HR manager, and going out and nurturing those relationships ritualistically so that attendance for her upcoming webinar will be high. So those rituals have to be protected. Uh, Things like handwritten notes, FedEx packages, inviting the HR directors and their constituency to come to this wonderful webinar that's being put together by a nonprofit. And all we do is ask them if they're interested in relocation grants and down payment assistance. It's not confusing or difficult. I'm going to rattle through just a couple of rituals and then we're going to wrap up for the day. Um, a listing acquisition ritual, which you could apply today. You could use the expired listing letters that we used to take about 1,800 listings over 30 years. Very specific letter. We'll give it to you. It's called the Miracle Letter. It says, "Is your home the only house sold in this busy seller's market?" And then it goes into the reasons why your house might not be sold and what we can do to help you sell it. And believe it or not, just sending out about 15 or 20 of those every day really did give me my first 20 listings a year. Not kidding. So that was a very, very important ritual that I did myself for 15 years. And then I handed it over to my personal assistant who did it every single day without fail or was fired. Another one is farming. We call it Farming Fridays. And if you've ever been to Works Partner, you know that Farming Fridays is very sacred to us. We do farming activities on Fridays. So if you just your week was building up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then you had Fridays to look forward to because that was the day that you were super proactive about your geographic farm area. You were sliding into DM. You were going ahead and sending your automated texts out to your farm area, your Twilio account. You were going ahead and you were updating your geographic farm area websites. You were checking your landing pages to make sure they work properly for your farm area. And you were scheduling social media and digital farming for that farm. But you only did that on Fridays. And I'm going to tell you why I love rituals because I'm clinically insane and I was raised in a chaotic, anxious household as a child. I needed rituals. I needed that structure. I needed that organization to keep me calm. And with respect to my wife, I want to tell you that I don't like to talk about money 7 days a week in the evenings and on the weekends and in the afternoons. I don't like little information about money coming up because it makes me anxious. So what I'd like to do is focus on money once a week for about an hour. I hate laundry. I hate being around laundry. I hate folding laundry. I hate putting laundry away. I hate the idea of laundry. I hate being a laundress. I don't want to be a laundry person. So I can't do laundry 6.5 days a week or it makes me insane. So I have to ritualize laundry for our family. Now, I had a cleaning lady 5 days a week. I never had to touch laundry for 40 years. But now that I'm retired, we do laundry together. And it's every Saturday for a couple hours. We do 2 loads of laundry. It usually handles the whole thing. We don't have to talk about laundry all week. We don't have to see laundry all week. You see how a ritual separates and protects the work from the rest of your busy schedule. So you're going to get interrupted all week by different things, but you won't get interrupted by your farm area if you reserve farming for Fridays. And this is what Gary Keller calls the one thing, time blocking, that changes the dynamic of the residential real estate agent that he works with. And Gary manages the most productive sales force in America. Gary Keller, uh, maybe Glenn Sanford, maybe Dave Liniger, the folks at Realogy. They all manage sales forces. So the funny thing about a sales force is kind of like an ant farm. You can see who the losers are and who the winners are. Like you could tell just looking, and you could see blocks of losers. 60% of them are losers. And that 60% of the Realogy agents are just absolute derelicts. They can't sell anywhere between 0 and 6 houses a year. But when you look at the top producers, they're ritualistic by nature. Real quick on 5 fingers, e-bowl, for sale owner follow-up that's automated so you don't have to deal with rejection, and it's compartmentalized to once a week activity. Expired listings, never have to see one again, just have to see them during these little teeny little time blocks. Your geographic farm area, we do it every Friday. Let's say you set aside 10 to noon on Fridays, and that was just reserved for your geographic farm area. Do you think compounded interest on that time invested would finally pay dirt in your farm area if you were doing it every single week? Sphere of influence database mining. The act of database mining your sphere of influence through social media, email, and text. That is a skill. It takes about 2 hours a week to schedule all of your sphere of influence work, and then your hero benefits work. It's time blocked. It's sectored out as a scheduled activity that you protect from all else. I don't know that I did the best job I've ever done here in Key to Coaching today, because I had a beautiful PowerPoint that was prepared for you that I lost in my ether because my internet was down. I leave this up on your screen because next week when we meet on Wednesdays, I'm going to review in granular detail the opportunities that you have to experiment with ritualistic behavior. And what I did is I gave you a 3-sentence handwritten note that takes about 45 seconds to write. I've written 100 of them. It's 3 sentences, bang, bang, bang. And then you lick the stamp and address it and send it. If you did that in a time block that accounted for 20 notes a week, you would call me up and you would say, Russ, the chief of police called me. You'd say, Russ, the principal at the elementary school called me. You'd say, Russ, the president of the VFW called me. Hey, Russ, the lady who runs the human resources department at the hospital district that manages all the nurses called me. And I would say, I told you that they would call you if you got ritualistic and sent the notes. And then all we would be doing is Randy Nemiroff, the chief connection officer, or Russ Fitzpatrick, your Key to Coach, would get on the phone with the principal with you so you could listen. And you could be quiet. You don't have to say a word. I'll call the principal back myself and I'll say, hey, my name is Russ Fitzpatrick. I'm the benefits director for Catawba County Schools. Have you heard of the Hero Benefits Network down payment assistance and relocation grants? No? Oh, this is free money that's available for your teachers who are buying and selling homes. And we give them up to $10,000 to assist with relocation. This is not a loan. It is a 501c3 charitable organization that gifts the money to the teacher or the nurse who's buying or selling a home. We help them with expenses like buying down their interest rate. A lot of teachers are using our $10,000 just to buy down their interest rate. A lot of teachers might be using or a lot of nurses might be using our $10,000 just for down payment, if it's allowed by the mortgage guidelines, or maybe to pay all their closing costs, or maybe they just want help with moving, like to hire a mover. So $10,000 goes a long way for a nurse who's relocating, and we gift that money. It's not a loan, and it never has to be repaid. And every single one of your nurses qualifies for it. Every single nurse qualifies for it. In fact, all of the hospital district employees qualify for these down payment assistance and relocation grants. Would you like to attend our upcoming Houston Heroes event on January 23rd at 5 p.m.? Oh, 7 p.m. Sorry, Laura. We are hosting a orientation for all the nurses January 23rd at 7 p.m. online, or if you prefer, we can come in to one of your quarterly, monthly, or annual meetings, and we can make a 10-minute presentation and set up a table where the nurses could get signed up and find out how much of a voucher they qualify for, how much of a grant they qualify for. Sorry with the PowerPoint, but if you understood 20 handwritten notes a week would change your life, you would execute. I can only tell you from 40 years of experience and a couple thousand realtors that do it, that time blocking 20 notes a week in the hero benefits sector is probably the highest and best use. And I would put it before the webinar. So my new friend Laura out in Houston's doing this webinar, right? She's using software, she's doing incredible marketing, she's doing incredible drip campaigns and reminders. I would submit that if she did the 20 handwritten notes a week for 4 weeks, she not only probably wouldn't even need to do the webinar, I swear, but if she did, it would be informal. It would be easy because the cops would already be coming. Like they would already agree and they would already set their own date and they would want to do it. So when the chief of police says there's a webinar, they attend, right? So I don't disagree with the webinar, but I would think that maybe the cart went before the horse because we have to build our network of hero benefits leaders that could feed the attendance to the webinar first. So I would say send 20 handwritten notes a week for 4 weeks and then schedule your webinar because all those conversations with the principals and the teachers and all the HR consultations would have happened before you hosted your webinar. Successful people are ritualistic by nature, and successful hero benefits directors send 20 handwritten notes a week